Good morning, I'm Luke Palisetti. This is Catherine Arnold. Thank you for tuning in to Kathuka Shara News 101.
Today we will be catching up with problems in U.S. schools. First, we will be talking with Sarah Duckworth about whether a student's learning is more important than their attendance.
Thank you, Catherine. Attendance at schools might not just be the problem to whether or not students are actively learning. School attendance is a requirement until the age of 16. Rhode Island School Committee says maintaining regular school attendance is necessary in order to achieve the goal of an educated citizenry, but many are wondering whether attendance is really the answer. Recent studies show students have not been actively engaged in class. This may be due to the inability to properly pay attention or that students are not understanding the content being taught. A new study finds that undergraduate students in classes with traditional stand and deliver lectures are 1.5 times more likely to fail than students in classes that use more stimulating so-called active learning methods. When students are absent, the procedure is to get the work from a teacher and catch up. Attendance may not be the actual problem. Why have students go to school when they won't be learning to their fullest potential? Handing it back to Catherine, speaking about whether or not school field trips truly are worth hours.
Thank you, Sarah. Although school field trips are fun for teens, some people are questioning if they are really beneficial to students. Mostly all field trips for students are meant to be educational, but are they really learning anything from them? Some people could argue that school trips are a waste of time, whereas other people could go on about how school field trips are the best way to teach kids. It all depends on what type of learners they are. Studies show that visual learners tend to retain more information when they can see what's going on or how something works. Auditory learners retain more information when they listen to somebody speak. Visual learners definitely learn a lot more on field trips than sitting in a classroom all day listening to teachers. In other news, school sports may not just be a way to give some students a chance to play more sports during the school. Luke Palisetti has more on that.
Indeed, Catherine. Studies have shown that sports improve concentration as well as school test scores. 50 studies that examined the effect of school-based physical activity on academic performance discovered that half of the studies showed positive associations. Also, none of these associations showed any negative impact. Sports are competitive as ever nowadays, and school sports are no exception, with practices almost every day for long periods of time. Most of these practices get in the way of extra help. Most students would choose sports over school for fear that they would miss playing time during games. Practices and games also give less time for studying and homework. On the other hand, most students think that the school sports don't affect education, but some players on these teams have under-average grades, and some are even getting kicked off or simply not picked because of their grades. This could be a motivation to do well in school as well as act appropriately so they wouldn't get kicked off the team. Uniforms and dress code is a new question that public schools have in mind. Josh Carter has the story on that.
Thank you, Luke. Many students are complaining about the strictness of dress code, especially with all this warm weather. Dress code is a set of rules on clothes that students are allowed to wear when attending school. Dress code varies from school to school, and the main purpose is to keep all students focused on learning and to eliminate any distractions. While school boards are generally allowed to create and enforce dress code programs within their districts, they must do so without violating the constitutional rights of students. A survey was taken by some Curtis Corner students, and based off of what we've been hearing, the results were not shocking. Of the 24 surveys, 96% said that dress code should be less strict. One student also mentioned, and I quote, "Everyone can agree that this shoulder thing is extremely dumb, so off-the-shoulder shirts should be allowed." It is clear what most students think about dress code. In other school-related news, students are sleeping away their education in public schools. So, should they just push back start time of school to make room for extra sleep? Let's go to Haley Tucker for more information.
Thanks, Josh. Students everywhere are suffering from a chronic health problem, sleep deprivation. Most middle and high school students wake up at 5 or 6 a.m., and people are worrying that this affects their performance in school. Teens are reporting to get 7 hours or less per night when they need at least 9.25. Those on the other side of the debate say that teenagers are just lazy and complain about everything. Others say that even just pushing it back an hour or two could make a huge difference. Some CCMS students took a survey. Keep in mind these students haven't done research, they're just giving their honest opinions. 33% of students say yes for reasons such as teenagers, we need lots of sleep, and we would be more prepared and ready to learn if we went to school later. The other 66% say no due to concerns of not having enough time after school.